the Wednesday edition, Mr. Relevant, presented by Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits. I'm Alex Strouf, hanging out with you from the Gerbil offices, One Call That Cell studio. At the Avenue, beautiful downtown Milwaukee, Joshy DiMaggio will be with me shortly. Producer Tiny Hands, Hunter Vaughn, is back at the Everlight Solar Studio in Madison, where I will be on Friday. Hunter, I don't even know if I've told you that. I'm doing the show with you on Friday from the beautiful city of Madison.
I get our schedules, so I saw your name on there. I figured you'd tell me eventually.
All right, good. Yeah, you know, I realized at this very moment, I don't think I've explicitly told you that I will be in Madison on Friday. So I will be there on Friday. I will see you then. But today in Milwaukee, Friday in Madison, as we lead up to Packers-Seahawks, the Sunday night football game this upcoming weekend, which I got to be honest with you, I'm feeling a little nervous about it. Feeling a little nervous about that one. Seattle's hot, man. They've won 4 in a row. We know it's a tough place to play. We know the 12th man. I'm feeling a little nervous about this one, which is good. I think it's good to feel this nervous this time of year. And the discussion we're going to have today is all about this time of year, because as we wind down in the regular season and the Packers approach locking up a playoff spot, which they can technically do this weekend, they would need a tie tomorrow night in the Thursday night football game, and they would need, I forget which team it is to lose. I think the Falcons maybe on Monday Night Football, and a win in Seattle, but a tie is not happening tomorrow night. So it's probably going to be next week or the following where the Packers can officially lock up a playoff seed. But as the Packers approach locking up a seed, the question is, can they do it, essentially, right? That's the overall question all 32 NFL teams want to figure out throughout the course of the NFL season. Can they win a Super Bowl? And the Packers certainly is not a no, and it is certainly not a full-blown yes quite yet. I still feel, despite the 9-4 record, which is an impressive record, which is a good mark of the season you've had thus far, I still am not sold on, yes, they are an absolute contender. They are ready to go. So I am intrigued. And I read an article this morning in Sports Illustrated written by Bill Huber. And we talked about this a bit on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy this morning with Mark Chmura. Essentially, it's Bill Huber asking the question, are the Packers a good team or are they a fraud? Right, looking at the teams they've beat, they've only beaten 2 teams who currently have a winning record. That's the Los Angeles Rams and the Houston Texans. And the other 4 teams they've played, or 3 teams, 4 games they've played against teams with winning records, they've lost them all, right? Philadelphia, Minnesota, and Detroit twice. So it certainly makes you ponder the question of, okay, well, if the Packers aren't beating the contenders, are they legitimately good enough to win a Super Bowl? And I'm not going to go off the deep end and say, hey, they're a total fraud, right? Like, it's just, you do not have enough evidence to make the case that they're a fraud. You can only play who's in front of you, right? That is a fact of the NFL. And for the most part this season, the Packers have taken care of business at 9-4. But when it comes to the teams that you are going to see down the road, Detroit, Philadelphia, Minnesota, obviously, Seattle is certainly a team that you could see down the road. That is a team you could certainly play a wild card weekend if the Packers are to travel to Seattle. This weekend is a good test. Tampa Bay. Los Angeles, I think the Rams are, albeit they were pretty beat up. They didn't have Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua in the game. The Packers only won by a score. I think it was a 5-point win for the Packers earlier in the season. But a win's a win. You can only play who's in front of you. So I'm reading this article from Bill Huber, and I'm playing a little bit of mental gymnastics, just going, oh man, I think I feel worse about the Packers' chances than I did, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. But there are certainly moments where, you know, in the upcoming stretch, where I could go, oh, okay, maybe that's what we've been waiting to see. And we've been saying that for weeks, right? We've been waiting for the, hey, I'm waiting to see it game. I'm waiting to see the championship potential game. We've been saying that, right? Like, this isn't the first time I've brought it up in the last couple of months. this weekend is an opportunity for that. The Minnesota game at the end of the month is obviously a really good opportunity for that. But I'm still awaiting the, hey, prove it game. And they've had some nice wins, but it hasn't been against a team you're going to have to see down the road. And maybe this is still a little like post-Lions loss drama, post-Lions loss sadness, and that's certainly what it could be. But there's a couple games left where they need to win and probably need to win convincingly in order for me to go, okay, they are at the level of Detroit. Okay, they are at the level of Philadelphia. And truthfully, I still need to see them get to the level of Minnesota. Although I think they are as good, if not better than Minnesota on paper, Minnesota's finding ways to win football games. And that is still an important thing when you have the record that Minnesota does. Hunter, go ahead.
One of the lines in Bill's article that really stuck out to me and made me, I've been all season like, yeah, the Packers, like, they're going to make a deep playoff run. Until I saw the line where he said that against teams whose quarterback is in the top 10 in passer rating, the Packers are 1-4. Once you get past the wild card, you're going to be seeing quarterbacks who are probably in the top 10 of passer rating. And that's where things get really rough for the Packers, if they're getting beat by good quarterbacks.
Yeah, and look, and we'll talk about Jaire a little bit later, which is, yeah, it's really a different conversation, but it's part of the conversation too. Is how do you feel about the Packers' chances if they don't have a real dominant cornerback, right? Like, it showed against the Lions. It even showed against Chicago. If you don't have a star corner out there, worried about that. We'll get to that in a bit. So top 10 in QBR, their win is over Kyler Murray as it stands right now. They have lost to Jalen Hurts. Well, they beat Matthew Stafford too, who's number 8. So maybe I don't know if this is at the time or
I would assume at
the
the
stat
time,
in the article, but yeah. Kyler Murray's in here. He's number 5 for Arizona. Matthew Stafford's number 8. Jalen Hurts is number 9 for Philadelphia, who obviously they lost to. Jared Goff just on the outside looking in. He's number 12 in QBR. And maybe it's rating or QBR, but regardless, right? Like they've only played a number of good quarterbacks so far. Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, who's been a good quarterback this year. It must be quarterback rating, excuse me, Hunter. I was looking at QBR. So Jared Goff number 2, Sam Darnold number 3, Jalen Hurts number 7. Who is their win? Oh, their win's over Tua, who's number 5 in terms of quarterback rating, not QBR. Yeah. 2 losses to 1-4. Huh. That is an interesting stat. And look, those stats aren't everything. And quarterbacks aren't everything. Quarterbacks, while they can make or break a game, they do not get all of the win or all of the loss attributed to them. You know, it is a team game. You know, I already see comments rolling in as we just kind of work through this. No, go ahead, Hunter.
Well, I was just going to say, but they are the biggest factor in a win or a loss. While it isn't completely like the win and loss thing isn't a quarterback stat, it's of any position, it is the closest to being a quarterback stat. So like they're the most important for a reason. And if you can't beat good quarterbacks, you're going to see them in the most important games. And you have to be able to figure out a way to slow them down. And that it indicates to me that the defense can't do it. Like it's a bigger indictment on the defense, I think, for this, that they can't get past these good quarterbacks. No. And you know, I don't want to point out last year too much, right? Because I don't think that's completely indicative of this year's team, but in terms of the NFL, right? I mean, you rolled over most of your roster from last year to this year. Mostly everybody's back. Obviously, you made a few crucial additions, Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs being the main two. But last year, right? Don't forget, this is a team that beat Jared Goff, that beat Patrick Mahomes, that beat Dak Prescott, who was having a good year. And I'm probably missing a couple other good quarterbacks that they beat last year. So I don't want to say they're completely incapable, but you're right. It is a new defensive system. It is a new defensive coordinator. And they've struggled against good quarterbacks. They beat Tua on Thanksgiving and, frankly, didn't make him look that good. They held C.J. Stroud to under 100 yards, so that was a good performance.
So I don't want to be unfair and say, they haven't beaten anybody or they haven't had any good performances against good quarterbacks, because you and I would agree, right? Like, it is the stat, and you are utilizing the stat. But to do what they did to C.J. Stroud, impressive, right? I don't think you're going to disagree with that.
No, I'm not.
But you're still missing that key win, though, and the point exists regardless. So let's get to some of these comments that I see rolling in on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube chat. Appreciate everybody chiming in. We'll continue to kind of delve through this. We'll get into the last 4 games. We'll talk Jaire. We'll play some One Word Wednesday. We'll play what we learned. All still ahead with you till about 1:30 Central this afternoon. Miserable Goat chimes in. These last 4 games will definitely challenge the unrealistic Packer fans, because there is such a thing as overly optimistic. Nevertheless, to each their own. Yeah. I waver, right? If you've watched this show for a long time, which I know, or listened to the show for a long time, which I know a lot of you have, last year was a freaking roller coaster with me, man. I was up and down, just like the Packers were last year. This season, it's been a little bit easier to be steady, right? Because you go in knowing what this team is capable of, winning a playoff game on the road, beating good quarterbacks, as I just referenced. Jordan Love is capable of playing like a really good quarterback. So entering this season with expectations probably made me a little bit more steady. Now, I thought they would win one of those Lions games. I don't know that I expected the Lions to be as good as they are, but I expected the Packers to win one of those games and probably be competitive in the NFC North longer than they have been. Now, I didn't expect Minnesota to be nearly this good. I thought they would far and away be the worst team in the division. And they're the 3rd best team in the NFC in terms of the record. So, yeah, I mean, I wished we would have had a really impressive win against an impressive opponent. And we just haven't seen that yet from the Packers. And again, that doesn't mean they stink. That doesn't mean they're not capable. That doesn't mean they can't win a couple of playoff games. That's not the case I'm making. It's just, I think I'd feel a lot better going into this final stretch of the season, the final 4 games, if the Packers did have that under their belt. Because then you go, oh, yeah, New Orleans is a gimme, which I still think it is. Chicago, probably a gimme. But Minnesota and Seattle are not games I'm looking at as gimmies. Both of those games are on the road. One of those is against the team who beat the snot out of you earlier in the season, despite what the final score said. So you've got some opportunity to go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But there's also a chance that the Packers go 2-2 in these final 4. They finish the season 11-6. And you're going, uh-oh, maybe this is the Vikings from a couple of years ago. Can't beat any good teams. Anton on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube chat says he got to beat Minnesota. And then goes on to say LA was the most beat up at the point the Packers played them. Detroit as well. I don't think it's a good sign if Love needs to play hero ball every game. Yeah, the good news is he hasn't a ton. Josh Jacobs is playing more hero ball than Jordan Love is, frankly, at this point. And I don't love the term hero ball, because if you're a $55 million quarterback, shoot, man, go out there and look like it. Go out there and play like it. Go out there and make throws like it. And look, Love's been impressive since the bye. He's cut down on the interceptions, which was a crucial thing, I think, down the stretch. I know Joshy and Hunter talked about it on Monday's show a little bit, but like, there is a desperate need for somebody to emerge as the go-to pass catcher. And we probably thought it would happen by now. I think preseason, it's something we talked about, right? Like, somebody's going to evolve. Somebody's going to become that guy. And it's been by committee. Jaden Reed's had his flashes, but then the last couple of weeks he's disappeared, right? 8 catches in 4 games is not enough for a guy who you view as one of your best playmakers with the ball in his hands. Christian Watson has had some flashes, but he's also had some great disappearing acts. Dontavian Wicks has more drops than anybody in the National Football League. So you're still at a point right now as it stands here on December 11th with 4 games remaining. You don't really have the go-to guy as the pass catcher. I don't know how much you believe in the Halfley defense. I still believe in Halfley. I still believe in the system. But you're running out of time to fix some of those issues. The pass rush still remains, in my eyes, the biggest one. But how about 3rd and 4th down stops? Chicago showed the Packers can't stop it. Detroit, 4 of 5 on Thursday, showed the Packers can't stop it on 4th down. If I'm an opposing offense, I'm looking at that and I'm going, oh, okay. But like if I'm Seattle, say this weekend, I've got Geno Smith and a couple of good backs, and we're in a situation in midfield and it's 4th and 2, 4th and 3 even. I'm thinking long and hard before I'm trotting out the punt team or the field goal unit. 4th and 2, I'm going for it. They can't stop it. They haven't been able to. The thing with the Packers is some of the problems they had earlier in the season, they've alleviated, right? Like Jordan Love's interceptions. Great. The run defense has been fixed a little bit. Some of the penalties offensively have been cleaned up. But then you have red zone offense, for example. That was an issue. Seems like the last couple of games they've got that back together. They get into the red zone, they're scoring points. Preferably touchdowns. They've been better at that since it was pointed out as a big issue. So that's the thing where I'm going back and forth, and we're kind of running out of time to fix all these issues. Kind of running out of runway here before you get to the postseason. And I get it's a new season, right? Everybody's record is 0-0 come playoffs, but issues just don't disappear. Issues just don't go away. You got to work out the kinks. And the Packers have had several recurring kinks, and many of them popped up on Thursday against Detroit. Electric Skeleton, love that name. Halfley is not a good defensive coordinator. He's passive and doesn't use the guys they have right. That's what I struggle with. Number one, I think it's way too early to make a, overarching takeaway on Halfley as a coordinator. I think it's just too soon to say whether he's good, bad, decent, mid, whatever you want to call it. I just think it's too soon. This defense has shown some flashes, right? They've shown some really good things. In terms of turnovers, they've been good, right? They turned over Jared Goff the other day, which he has not done a lot of this season. The players, I think, is where the issue is, right? Are they putting, the right guys in the right position? Their first-round picks aren't popping off the page, right? Like Rashawn Gary isn't popping off the page. Since Devontae Wyatt was injured earlier in the season, he isn't popping off the page. Quay Walker, couple good games. Other than that, not so good. Eric Stokes, that experiment should be over as soon as possible. That's the issue I'm having. Defensively. More so than Halfley being a good or bad coordinator. Because I think I probably lean he's more good than he is bad. But I'd also lean it's probably too soon to tell how good or how bad he is. This defense has been an improvement from last season. But there are still glaring issues, which includes the 3rd and 4th down. They cannot get off the field. And that's a big-time issue. If you're a team with championship hopes, you have to come through in those crucial downs, and the Packers just have not.
Just to throw out an actual number here for you when it comes to the defense's 3rd down. From what I found, the Packers are 13th in the NFL as a defense for 3rd down. So not as bad as I thought they would be. It just feels like they give up 3rd downs at like the worst possible times. Like it isn't like they're consistently bad at it, but it's just like, okay, it's the 4th quarter. You got to get a stop. And they don't get the stop when they need to have that.
Yeah.
So it just makes it feel even worse than what they are.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one from Joe. We are one corner and one linebacker away from being an elite defense, he believes. Those are two pieces they need, right? And obviously the hope is Quay Walker made that jump this year. Jaire Alexander stays healthy this year. That knocks out both of those wants. Nah. Neither of those things have happened. Jaire's missed more time than he's played, and Quay Walker has not made the jump for the most part. He's had some nice games and some nice moments, but Thursday against the Detroit Lions was not his finest moment. Once again, so I lean they're more good than fraud, but they've still got a lot to prove. And these 4 games are going to be crucial. We'll talk about those 4 games coming up. And we will have the honest discussion around Jaire Alexander. I'm looking forward to having that conversation with Joshy DiMaggio. Because Jaire is still a wacky one to me, man. It is still a really wacky one to me. So we will bring in Joshy here in a bit to have the Jaire Alexander conversation. Coming up next, we will discuss the final 4 games on the Packers schedule. What do you need to see to be sold that this is a real contender? That's what I want to dive into. Because I don't want to make this all negative, right? They're too far away, you know? Yeah, I'm still a Packers fan. I still think they have the pieces to be a Super Bowl team this year. But we need to see it now. It's go time. I believe Matt LaFleur earlier in the week called it cutthroat time, which I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it's cutthroat time. So we will dive into that all still ahead. But first, got to tell you about my friends at Door County Distillery. Locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County. It's almost the holidays. I know you've got people coming over, or you're going somewhere. Either put it under the tree or put it on the counter. You're making old fashions. Is it brandy? Is it whiskey? Do it both ways. You can have both worlds with Door County Distillery. Their 27-time gold medal award-winning single malt whiskey is delicious in old fashions if you're a whiskey drinker like myself. Or if you go with the brandy old fashioned, the brandy sweet. I know that's Hunter's go-to. The cherry brandy from Door County Distillery, made with local Door County cherries. I mean, come on, that should sell you right there, man. Local Door County cherries in a brandy? Hello. Happy holidays to you. You can put it under the tree. They've got kits, the old-fashioned kits you can get from Door County Distillery all over the state of Wisconsin and online, doorcountydistillery.com. You can check out that website. You'll find the retailer nearest you with all that product, right? Whether it's vodkas, gins, brandies, whiskeys, rums. It's all over the place. doorcountydistillery.com is the website. We'll step aside for 60 seconds. When we come back, I want to hear from you on this on the YouTube comments. What do you need to see over the final 4 games in order for your mind to flip to, that's a Super Bowl championship contender? That is a championship contender. What needs to happen? Let me know in the comments. We'll read some of your responses. We will give our answers. All still ahead. It's Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strouf.
Back at Door County Distillery, the New Year's coming up, so we're going to celebrate in style, making the final countdown with our buddy Rob from Door County Distillery. Rob, happy early New Year.
Yeah, happy early New Year's to you, too. Do you have any resolutions coming up?
I've got many, but we shouldn't get into those now. We only have 60 seconds. We've got the 20 at least time award-winning single malt whiskey headlining this lineup. How do we make the final countdown?
All right, so you start with, as you said, the award-winning whiskey, single malt, 2.5 ounces of that, half an ounce of grenadine, half an ounce of simple syrup, 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. Stir. Stay on the outside of the glass, give her a little once-over around.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you, Rob.
Happy New Year's.
The
Cheers.
final countdown from Door County Distillery. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Check out their website with a huge list of unique cocktail recipes at doorcountydistillery.com. That's doorcountydistillery.com. Yeah, it's doorcountydistillery.com for our friends at Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, and award-winning spirits. All right, 4 games left on the Packers' schedule. They go to Seattle this Sunday night. Following Monday night, they host New Orleans. That is December 23rd, that Monday night game in Green Bay. That next Sunday on a short week, they go to Minnesota, and then they wrap up the season on either that following Saturday or Sunday, likely Sunday, I would guess, against the Chicago Bears at Lambeau Field. In order to get to the level of, hey, I've got Detroit, Philadelphia level confidence, which I don't know if I'll get to that point over the course of the last 4 games, but I can get to, could they go on the road and steal one? Yeah, they could. Right? And again, there's no perfect method to this. There's no perfect way to feel for this. Because in 2010, the Packers probably didn't belong and they won the whole damn thing. So there is no perfect methodology to winning it all and being, playing your best football at the right time. But there are some things I would like to see down the stretch that could make me go, all right, they've turned a corner. Holding teams to under 21 points. If they can do that all 4 weeks, whew, that would be the ultra dose of confidence that I'm looking for. Because a lot of my problems with this Packers team fall defensively. There are some problems I have offensively, but defensively, can you hold teams to under 21, to 24 and less? Because I think if you hold teams to 24 or less, the Packers will win. I think that offense is good for 25, 26, 27, 28 points every game. Especially if they can find a way to start faster, which is another thing I'd like to see. Start this Sunday. Go to Seattle, hostile environment, right out the gates, punch somebody in the mouth. That would be big. I need to see a quality wins, fast starts offensively, and just good, complete games defensively. And it's just been too sporadic with this Packers defense. Look, I get Detroit's one of the best, if not the best offense in all of the NFL. I get that. But 34 points is a hard game to win. It's a hard game to win. No matter who you're playing. You're allowing 34 points. It's a hard game to win. You saw some really good flashes against Miami, holding them to 17. San Francisco with a backup quarterback to 10. Held Detroit to 24 the first time around. Now inclement weather. But I mean, you look up and down the schedule. There are some bad marks on here. 34 to the Eagles in the opener. 31 to Minnesota in the loss. 27 to Jacksonville in a win. And as I mentioned, 34 this past week to Detroit. Can't let that happen. I mean, especially that Jacksonville one, which was still a win, and I get Love was hurt in the second half. But you just cannot allow that amount of points to be scored. You just can't. You can't expect to win a lot of ball games if that's going to be the case. So, I need this defense to step up and slow down offenses. 24 or less, preferably 21 or less, and you'll win those ball games. Offensively, you got to start faster. If that happens on Thursday, the Packers win that game. If they don't go punt, fumble, the Packers win that game. But you go down 17-7 at half. Luckily, you come out with back-to-back touchdowns. A touchdown because you got the second half kickoff. You get the interception. You turn that into 7. And you put yourself right back in this game. Good teams are not going to give you the opportunity Detroit did on Thursday. And they were a good team. They don't make those mistakes often. But luckily, they made one on Thursday, and it lets you right back in the game. But Detroit had Green Bay right where they wanted them. 17-7. I think a lot of us at halftime were sitting on the couch going, it's going to be one of those nights, isn't it? It's just going to be one of those nights. And luckily, it was a better second half for both groups. Well, it was a better second half for the offense. But the defense just was nowhere to be found. Couldn't get a stop on crucial downs. I would like to see more consistency out of the receiver room. And I saw some comments come in on, isn't it a good thing to have a bunch of number 2s? I don't think so. I don't think so. Let me find the comment.
So you've changed your tune on that because all offseason you were very much the not having a true number 1 is the superpower of this team.
No, I'm more always angled that. I don't think I ever was a full believer in that. It was more so, I thought that's how Matt LaFleur viewed it, is our superpower offensively is we have depth. And sure, you can make a case, but when you've got a guy missing from a concussion and Romeo Doubs the last couple of weeks, and when one of your best receivers, and who I really thought was going to evolve into the best receiver, completely disappears, and Jaden Reed, all of a sudden it's not so great of a superpower, right? Like Christian Watson deep ball a couple times a game, and that's about it. So no, I'm not a huge believer in that. I think you need somebody, and Josh did a great job with this on Monday, of you need somebody to evolve or you need to acquire somebody that could be that true number 1. And I agree with that. The comment here from Anton, what is wrong with a bunch of number 2 receivers? Like Driver, Cobb, and Lazard. Spread it out to all your number 2 wideouts. I just don't think it's that simple either. Right? Like somebody's eventually going to get taken away. And it seems like either A, he wasn't schemed up in the game plan enough for LaFleur, or defensively, defense just said, hey, we're going to take away Jaden Reed. They can try to beat us with Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks if they want to. It's just not going to happen. So, I mean, yeah, if you're spreading the ball out to all your guys, and Jaden Reed's getting 4 or 5 touches, and so is Christian Watson, so is Romeo Doubs, and so is Dontavian Wicks, then yeah, that's a perfect storm. I just don't think that's a realistic game plan. I just don't think you're going to see a lot of that. So, yes and no. I think it's a good thing and a bad thing. And right now, it's been more bad than good. I'd love to see Jaden Reed just get going, right? 5, 6, 7 catches a game down the stretch. And you realize, oh, okay, yeah. Maybe our offense is a little better when the ball's in his hands. Joshy DiMaggio's here. Hi, Joshy.
Hi, join you midstream here. I got a problem with that comment about what's the problem with having says second guys. At each time, all the guys he named were wide receiver ones in the Packers offense at different points. Maybe Alan Lazard you can question, but he literally was for a season. Right now, the Packers' leading target getter is Jaden Reed, and he's ranked in the 70s in all of the NFL. Ooh. So that's telling you there are teams that have at least 2, and many of them 3 players that are seeing more targets over the course of the season than Jaden Reed has to this point. The next one, I believe, is Dontavian Wicks, which is only like 5 places after him. The best offenses and all the offenses you see that are functioning the best have a guy they can rely on at a consistent rate. A guy who they look to 10 to 12, even more times per game. When you look at the end of the season, there are going to be the haves and the have-nots in terms of guys who are difference makers and are making the most with what they have. Mm-hmm. Right now, the Packers don't have one of those guys. I would say Jaden Reed, to be quite frank, has probably overperformed the amount of targets he's seen. But to this point, nobody has set themselves so far apart to demand that type of thing, which is an issue. You need somebody who, Devontae Adams, at a certain point, it was stupid to throw the ball elsewhere.
Yep.
Why would I throw it elsewhere if Devontae's going to keep getting big gains and scoring touchdowns? No one on this team has proven themselves to be that guy. And to have that guy is to have an offense that is reliable, converts third downs, and is really successful in the red zone. All things the Packers are either currently struggling with or had previously struggled with and maybe gotten over a little bit recently.
It's really well said by you. Yeah. I'm just hoping this Jaden Reed thing is just a flash in the pan, right? And down the stretcher with 4 left.
I think it is. I'm not concerned about him long term. I am concerned about what I can expect his ceiling to be as a player. But I think the things he does well translate regardless. And but he's a young player. People hit the wall.
Sure.
People hit the wall. Sometimes they need to figure out how to
But it can't be a long hit of the wall.
No. But like Dontavian Wicks couldn't catch a ball 6 weeks ago. He converted 3 of 4 just this past weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like this stuff can change and oftentimes does change because that man has a supernatural ability to do things when the ball's in his hands. Mm-hmm. The problem is right now he's not demanding or getting targeted enough, be it by Jordan, by the offense, or by Jane Reed's old doing.
Yeah, I think that's completely correct. And that's a big one I'm looking for on Sunday, man. If Jaden Reed is a non-factor again, it's time to hit the panic button because either LaFleur's not doing enough or Reed's not doing enough or both. And I don't like any of those options.
No.
If it's one answer, if both are true, still a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is really easy to see, and Matt LaFleur alluded to it. The Packers have become more of a rush-first team. They are, I believe it's 51 to 49 in terms of pass and run, which is, in the NFL, that is, you are a rush-first team. If you're that close, even if the number says 49%.
Yeah, if it's 60-40, that's still a lot.
Right, you're rushing way more than most of the other teams are in the league. What happens is you want to go bigger in those spots because teams on defense like to play small. It's like what we went through with when the Warriors started their small ball thing. So now the Packers are going big to match the small defenses, and Jaden Reed just isn't one of the 2 best blockers. You're much better off having Christian Watson and Dontavian Wicks out there. And that third receiver would be Jaden Reed in that situation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can start trying to figure out ways for him to get open against those outside corners, but he's going to function the best out of the slot. That's who he is. That's what his body type is, and that's how he plays.
Can you have a true number 1 in the slot?
Yes.
Okay.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is majorly out of the slot. CeeDee Lamb spends a lot of time in the slot. A lot of the best number 1 wide receivers spend a lot of time in the slot. They might not predominantly be there.
Deebo Samuel, the San Francisco 49ers number 1 receiver?
No, not this season. Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, true.
Or George Kittle. It depends on who you want it to be. But like Devontae Adams played a lot in the slot, even with Green Bay. Like you move those guys around because they are a tool. They are, here I'm going to create something bad for the defense. I don't think Jaden Reed has, quite frankly, demanded that with what he's done. Could he eventually? Sure. But it's just not there yet.
Yeah, well, hopefully it comes. Packers could certainly go 4-0. I don't think they're going to. They certainly could. And if
Why
they
not?
do,
You're really doubting on the Seahawks game, huh?
yeah, I'm really doubting this one on
I
Sunday.
can tell.
I don't know why. I just got that feeling. It's a hot team. It's
Maybe
a tough
this is a
environment.
wrong-
National spotlight.
Maybe this is the wrong opinion to have. I don't think.
I like when you start a sentence that way.
I don't think the Seahawks are good enough to be a 5 wins in a row team. And I don't know if that says more about the Seahawks or the Packers. I just don't think they're that team.
They're not good enough to be a 5-win in a row team.
Yeah, that's just not them. Geno Smith, not that impressive. Defense, pretty good. Not special. Like, what do they do special?
To be honest with you, Josh, I haven't watched a lot of Seahawks football this year.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I have an answer for that. I like Geno, though, and I like their head coach. But I don't know what they're doing. I haven't watched a lot of Seahawks football, so I don't know. But just the recipe that makes me feel a little icky. 4 wins in a row. It's a road game. It's a West Coast game for the Packers. Just kind of mix those ingredients. It's giving me an icky feeling. So
I thought Hunter was going to say something.
I did too, but he went away.
Yeah, I just figured we moved on from what I was going to say. So,
Oh, okay. Well,
Good awareness by Hunter. Bad awareness by Josh.
yeah, I was waiting.
All right, good stuff. Let's move on because I do want to get. I've been looking forward to this conversation since I thought of it. I haven't even told Joshy about it, but I'm really looking forward to Joshy's input on it. I don't think the Packers are going anywhere if Jaire's not healthy. That part is starting to concern me. And we alluded to the comment earlier. The Packers are probably 1 star corner and 1 good linebacker away, which that's an opinion. They're supposed to have the star corner. They're supposed to have 1 lockdown guy, right? Because when you move on from Rasul Douglas, it is a risky move. And I understand the scenario in which the Packers were in. They did not have a winning record. They didn't think they were looking like a playoff team. Go get an asset and try to help what ended up being this year's team. And hindsight being what it is, probably the right move. But Jaire's missed so much time the last 2 years. Eric Stokes' abject failure of a first-round pick. The Carrington Valentine, Corey Ballantyne experience has been better for one, but really overall has been underwhelming here in year number 2. Keyshawn Nixon's been all right. He's had his moments since he's moved to the outside. But, Joshy, when I say, hey, you've got no Jaire again this weekend, which I don't know. I'm not saying that's a fact. I'm just saying, let's say Jaire's not a go against Seattle.
Jaire, until he's not on the 90-minute report.
Yeah, we're going to assume he's inactive.
Just assume, yep, that's what he's earned himself.
Correct, I agree. The new nickname he's earned is Jaire Bakhtiari, which
I don't like that.
I don't either, but I understand what you mean, right? It's a great player, and when he plays, he's usually pretty good, and you just can't count on him to play.
Unreliable.
And as we saw with David Bakhtiari, that's eventually going to find your way out of Green Bay. But when it comes to this specific season and this specific playoff run, if Jaire is not good to really good, I don't know how far the Packers are going to make it. They could be a wild card exit. Because the way I've watched, and it's not like they're getting completely carved. Goff was good on Thursday. And you know, there's been a couple games where the teams can do the same thing over and over again in the passing game, and it just continues to work. It was screens for Detroit. And that's not always a corner issue by any means, but you're lacking the playmakers on the outside is more my point. And that is becoming a huge concern for me. I'm really concerned what this defense looks like if Jaire either A, doesn't return, or B, is not healthy for the playoffs. Really nervous. And I think the ultimate conversation is you need to go corner in the first round next year. Hope it works right away. And probably need to move on from Jaire Alexander. Because if you're unreliable, I don't want you taking up a roster spot anymore. That's where I'm at right now.
I shouldn't say long held. Ever since this Jaire stuff started to re-emerge its head, I am strongly under the belief this is Jaire's last season as the Packers. Not because he isn't playing enough, is he simply too unreliable at this stage of his career. I think he could have a resurgence elsewhere, kind of a wake-up call, like these people don't want me around here because I don't show up enough. But both Jason Wilde and Rob Domofsky have floated that idea, and I don't know if that's just them talking to one another and thinking about it, or if that's something that maybe they're hearing rumblings of coming out of 1265. I think the issues with corner is, one, clearly Goody made a miscalculation. They thought Eric Stokes was going to be a reliable option at the cornerback position. He is not. So they did not invest in the draft nor in free agency really at all. The other mistake, I think, is coaching. They've decided to keep running out Eric Stokes, and with Carrington Valentine being far better, like by every metric you can really look at. I don't know if they're finally going to ditch that idea and make him the guy opposite Keyshawn. And then there's been injuries that popped up because Javon Bullard was at a time playing in that slot and playing well. Evan Williams, there's been a lot of shifting around, and the one domino that's the biggest of all of them is Jaire. If Jaire's not there, it causes 2-3 guys to be playing positions they probably shouldn't be and aren't as comfortable in.
Yeah, and that is. And look, we talked about this with the Lions defense last week. As you get more reps and as you get more time together, naturally you will get better, right? There's a little bit more chemistry. There's more understanding of the role in which you're playing. But, and this is no shot at any of those guys in that room, but this ain't it. This ain't it at cornerback, right? If Jaire's healthy, sure, I feel a little bit better. Because your back end then involves Jaire Alexander and Xavier McKinney.
Yes.
Which is two great options to have in your defensive backfield. And like we mentioned, Keyshawn's been playing better. Evan Williams and Javon Bullard in their rookie seasons have made some really nice impacts. But without Jaire, I think this thing comes crumbling down fast, especially as Hunter and I talked about a bit earlier. If they're playing a pretty good quarterback, I don't like the trajectory we're on.
You're putting a lot on young guys that are still developmental projects. Carrington Valentine was a 7th-round pick. The fact that he even is somehow serviceable is quite an impressive feat for him, especially in today's NFL, where some teams have 2 to 3 good wide receivers. He's not just facing Alan Lazard out there. He's staring down Jamison Williams and DJ Moore and Keaton. Those are good players. Jordan Addison are out there. The Jaire thing was obviously a miscalculation. The Eric Stokes thing was obviously a miscalculation. The draft was approached in a way where I understand why you focused on offensive line, even though the offensive line actually turned out being better than we had thought going into the season. And then you drafted another inside linebacker, and you went to those safety positions. That safety position, opposite of what is now Xavier McKinney's, has been kind of ugly. And to say kind of has been pretty ugly. Even the last couple of years of Adrian Amos, that player on the field has not been a plus. I think they have 2 guys that eventually will be major pluses, but both of those guys have now had injury issues.
They've had injury issues and obviously struggles because they're young players, which comes with the territory, right? It's not like that's unexpected.
Yeah, Javon Bullard is probably honestly a better slot player. But he's being asked to play some of that deeper stuff a little bit more. So he's literally learning how to play a different way than he's accustomed to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point, Hunter. Go ahead.
Would you guys be okay with the Packers kind of approaching Jaire as okay, you shut him down for the rest of the year, give him an opportunity to get healthy, and then next year is the last chance of, hey, can you make it through a season? If he can't, then you pull the trigger. Because I just worry for you guys as Packer fans, if they let him go and all he needed was just more time to get fully healthy, and then he goes and has an all-pro level season with another team, probably somebody like the Vikings, because that's what Packers castoffs do, you guys are going to be very annoyed with that.
I think the right thing to do is you need Jaire this year. If he can play, he can play. Give him the offseason. Give him training camp. We know who Jaire is in terms of talent. If you need to let him basically go into the Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre program or Chad Clifton, name the guy, the David Bakhtiari, where they basically do nothing, but if you show up, you're going to be a great player. I think that's an option. And if you want to bring him back, I think it has to be basically incentive-laden. And it doesn't necessarily need to be interceptions because people cannot throw his way. We've seen much of Jaire's career. A lot of teams don't even really look towards him unless they have a favorable matchup with like an A.J. Brown. I think it's a games played and snaps played thing. You get paid X amount if you play 10 games. You get paid, Y amount if you play 12. And then you just structure it up and up and up, and you allow him to make even more money if he plays like the full slate of games. I think that's probably the way they need to approach him, because it's simply these past 2 seasons have been, and you probably point to 4 in total. The past 4 seasons have been disappointments in terms of the production of Jaire and the time he spent on the field.
Yeah, it's well said. I see the comment come in here from Joe. There's a corner in this year's draft. I'm just looking at, NFL Draft 2025 cornerback rankings. The number 8 corner, according to NFLDraftBuzz.com. That's a real website. Jaire Alexander.
Huh? Bros?
Projected second-round pick. I don't think so, no. Just odd. Jaire Alexander, the number 8 corner. Okay. I'd be okay with it. Run it back. Try it with a different last name.
They're certainly going to invest there in some... Regardless of what happens, they're going to want reinforcements at that position.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're going to do
Eric Stokes is gonzo.
Oh, yeah, he's gonzo. They're going to do the old Gootnator. They're going to go off the board, weird position, round 1, and then go corner round 2, 3, and 4. Right? Like, that's just...
I think we can... I think I could tell you right now. The draft pick is going to come on the defense, and it's going to be front 7 or corner. And I would put a lot of money on that.
I hope...
I'll even narrow it down. Front 4 or corner.
So defensive line or corner.
Yes.
There's this draft class, from what I've seen of it, you might be able to get some mid to late round DNs, probably better than what the cornerback position in that spot of the draft will be. So,
hey, Joshy, why Hunter knows that?
He's been looking at mock drafts for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Well, the Cowboys are going Ashton Genty if he's there. I want that so bad.
They could use him. They could use him. The Heisman hopeful, yeah.
They are the one team where it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's something they've completely lacked. They also need a head coach. They also need
they've got holes to fill, but
yeah,
you
future
could
Hall of
easily
Famer
plug
at guard
him in
is
there
going to leave. Like, it's going to be bad.
Yeah, but there's talent on offense. That offense can function.
Yeah. Miserable Goat chimes in. Yeah, Goody will probably draft a long snapper in the first round and then go corner.
Okay, come on.
Probably accurate. Obviously a little dramatic, but you get the point. Point stands.
I don't, because I think Goody's draft process is good. He's just made bad picks.
Yeah. All right, we got to get to One Word Wednesday, but first, there's only one word for how I watch games. Underdog. In UnderdogFantasy.com. You got to download the Underdog app. It elevates the game watching experience. It's really easy to play the Underdog Pick'em game. All you do is you look at players' projections on their stats. You pick higher or lower. You pick anywhere between 2 and 8 players in your Pick'em entry, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. You can turn $1 into $1,000 on Underdog in UnderdogFantasy.com. You got to sign up if you haven't already. Use the promo code Good Karma at sign up because you get perks if you use that promo code. Good Karma, all one word. GOODKARMA. Good Karma at sign up. You get up to a 100% deposit match and a free pick at sign up. That's all by just using the promo code Good Karma at sign up on Underdog in UnderdogFantasy.com. You just click higher or lower, but do it ahead of watching a game. I was sitting at Fiserv the other day watching Marquette, Wisconsin. I had my pick'em entry going. Fell a half point short.
Tough.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens though. But that's what makes it great. You sweat it out. Sweat it out till the very end, the bitter end. And if you were playing along on Monday, hopefully you had Jamar Chase higher on everything possible, given the game he had on Monday Night Football. Underdog, UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code Good Karma at sign up. All right, we play this each and every Wednesday. Hunter has a list of topics. He throws them at me. I respond with one word, sometimes a couple words more than one word, but I try to keep it to one word. And we call it, creatively, One Word Wednesday. Let's roll.
We'll start with the NFL and that Monday Night Football game. The Dallas Cowboys lose on a special teams blunder, the same team that had Leon Lett with a special teams blunder.
The word from Homer Simpson is no.
That's all I want to talk about that game. The LA Rams at the San Francisco 49ers on Thursday Night Football.
Tie is the word. We are rooting for the tie so the Packers can clinch playoff spot this weekend.
Bills at the Lions, Super Bowl preview, question mark?
Potentially. Yeah, I mean, look, these are two of the top 4 teams in the NFL. Rooting for the Bills just because, obviously, they're coming off of a really entertaining loss last week with the Rams. Yes, I think this could absolutely be a Super Bowl preview. Probably it might be the most likely Super Bowl matchup, actually, as I'm going through it in my head. Chiefs-Lions, very possible. Bills-Lions, probably number 2. So, yeah, potentially.
Steelers at Eagles, also a game this week.
Yeah, this is a fun one. That Steelers team, not all sexy, but they just find ways to win. So let's go with the word. I'm struggling with a word here.
Bruising.
I keep
both
bruising.
teams run the ball well.
Rushing. Let's go with bruising. You win that one word.
Let's move to the NBA. The Milwaukee Bucks are in the NBA Cup semifinals.
Vegas! Rolling the dice, baby. Yeah, this is cool, right? Like, for a team that started off slow, we looked at them at 2-8, and we said, okay, this is a crucial 11-game stretch, and they just tore it up. I think they went 9-2, and they're right back in this thing. Giannis is back in the MVP discussion, and for the second year in a row, the Bucks back in Las Vegas for the semifinals.
Braden Locke has officially entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, I saw this. I was going to save it for my what we learned, but it's all right. We didn't communicate it. Expected.
Yeah. John Tonje, he's a free throw merchant.
Strong, but accurate.
This one, a tweet from Evan Flood, quote, Greg Gard on Steven Crowell. How do you have no rebounds?
Criticism.
Oofta.
Tough love. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievably 7 feet tall, playing an Illinois team who didn't have, it's not like they're trotting out Shaquille O'Neal out there and he can't get a board. Yeah, that was a tough watch last night for the Badgers, who have lost now 3 in a row.
On to Major League Baseball. Juan Soto, 15 years, $765 million contract with the Mets.
Yeah, the word's bonkers. I mean, I get he is the highest prize in this year's free agency, but this is an absurd contract. 15 years is ridiculous. I think I saw a stat he's going to be making like $2,000 a minute for the next 10 years, or 15 years, excuse me. Yeah, it's out of hand what baseball contracts have become. But hey, man, congratulations to him. 26 years old, just like me, and $700 million richer.
And then finally, 100.5 ESPN Madison, Madison's new home for Milwaukee Brewers baseball.
Euchre. Yeah, Bob Euchre going to be blessing the airwaves in Madison on 100.5 ESPN Madison. Awesome announcement for our team yesterday, and exciting for Madison area baseball fans. You can catch it all summer long on 100.5 ESPN. Cool to see what's happened to ESPN Madison since I've left, by the way. Since I've moved to Milwaukee, they have now added both Wisconsin volleyball and Milwaukee Brewers baseball. So it tells you what those organizations thought of me. Yeah, no doubt. You lose me. Oh, and you've added Barry Alvarez as a teammate. So you've lost me. You've added Wisconsin volleyball, Barry Alvarez, and the Milwaukee Brewers.
Sometimes you got to subtract to add.
Or add to add. Some would view it. But hey, I appreciate the compliment nonetheless. So there you have it. All right, time now for What We Learned. You learn something new every day. We learn something new today. Time to play What We Learned. Couple of things I want to get through here. Let's go back to something you just brought up in one word. That is Braden Locke, who became the starter essentially after Tyler Van Dyke's injury for the Badgers this season. Had a really rough year, and Madison was one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the country. All right, like statistically, just one of the worst quarterbacks in the country. And you feel for him because everybody's rooting for him, but it was just bad. It was just bad. It comes a couple days after also Tyler Van Dyke has entered the portal as well. So both quarterbacks who started games this year for the Badgers are on their way out, which means the Badgers need to do something fast. And that, unfortunately, likely means, once again, in the portal. I said last week, I'm kind of over this whole portal quarterback experience in Madison. But you add an offensive coordinator in Jeff Grimes, who makes his way over from Kansas, a couple of time finalists for Assistant Coach of the Year, had one of the best running offenses in the country this past year at Kansas. I think he ranked 12th in the country. But you've got to figure something out fast. And again, I say, unfortunately, I think that's by way of a transfer portal quarterback rather than a true freshman. But hey, maybe it works out, and maybe Matoyer makes the jump. I don't know what it is, but the quarterback situation is the first big problem to solve for the new offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, and the head coach, Luke Fickell. So that big news out of Madison since we have been live here on Mr. Irrelevant has broke. Braden Locke out in Madison, which I don't think was, like I said, it was expected. I'm not surprised one bit by it, given how things ended, right? Locktober seemed like it was off to a good start, and then it all came crumbling down, and the Badgers lost 5 in a row to end their season. So, yeah, you got to act fast now. What's the next step? What's the next move? Who's coming into town? Who's competing for this job? The Badgers want to get back to the promised land and get back to a competitive Big Ten football team. They need somebody at least competent running the position. And I don't know if they have that guy in the room right now.
I don't think they have that guy in the room right now because he's down in Florida. His name's Carter Smith. Do
you think he's a day one starter, though?
I mean, Grimes was able to make Zach Wilson a top 5 pick, so I have a lot of faith in him as a coordinator. I don't know who they're going to get because I've seen the name Connor Wegman. He was the quarterback at Texas A&M. He has injury problems. So that'd be a third quarterback in a row that Fickell would try to bring in who has an injury history. I don't see them doing that. And any of these other big guys, I just don't know if they're going to get the NIL money to come to Wisconsin compared to some of the other schools that they could get. So one of the guys I'm kind of holding out hope for is the starting quarterback at Rice, E.J. Warner. That is the son of Kurt Warner. And I think that would be kind of fun. And the guy kind of needs to prove it a little bit. I think that could be a good option. But at some point, Luke Fickell's just got to have a guy that he actually recruited be a consistent starter. So I'm almost just kind of you know what? Why not? Especially with the schedule they have next year. Just go ahead. Let's just see what you can do, and then you'll know. I do have something for one word, or not one word, for what we learned. As well as staying in college football. The state of Ohio is the softest state in the country. They are now...
I was going to bring this up as well.
Yeah, they are introducing a potential bill or act to make planting the flag at the center field of Ohio Stadium a felony. So, the team that was so soft they got upset about the flag, now their state legislature also soft and has to make it a felony because heaven forbid we ever have fun in sports.
Yeah, so this follows the pepper spray incident on November 30th, which happened at Ohio State. This bill being called the OHIO Sportsmanship Act, authored by State Representative Josh Williams on Tuesday. I don't think this is going to pass.
Yeah.
It's completely absurd. It's completely impossible to mandate. I mean, even if it's not, you're going to, let's just say hypothetical. Badgers go to Ohio State. They win. Carter Smith runs the center field with the Wisconsin flag and plants it. Really think he's going to be a felon because of this? Come on now.
No.
Right. So I'm with you, Hunter. This is very soft. I understand the idea behind it because things really got out of hand a couple of weeks ago. But soft.
I've got a what we learned.
Is it about the Green Lake kayaker?
Sure is.
Dude, I went 3 for 3. I had 3 selected. It's the 3 we all selected. I'm impressed. So, Josh, I'll let you set it up as we've been following this for the last couple of, really probably over a month at this point. He's back, baby.
The man who faked his death via kayak in the deepest lake in Wisconsin, well, the deepest natural occurring lake. After his brief stint in Eastern Europe, he has returned on his own. I believe it was from 620 WTMJ.
That is correct.
Further details. He returned on his own and turned himself in to the Green Lake County Sheriff's Department, I believe it was.
Yep.
And he is currently, you can see his mugshot on the internet, he is currently in custody. I believe they were supposed to have a press conference this morning, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Do we get any clarity on the charges at which he was? Is it fraud?
We really don't know. I don't know that we did get any clarity on that from what I've read. Now, I've read some of the expert thoughts. It sounds like the max he could get for all this is like 5 years prison time. And that would be it.
I'm shocked there's even prison time involved. I'm having a hard time.
I feel like there should be, though.
Yeah,
you can't just
faking
fake
your own death. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, but that's not like illegal. It has to be some sort of... It has to be some other thing. Like, it has to be fraud or, like, some sort of money-related crime that much... Like...
But like
as
filing a
as
false police report is a crime. So like they were searching the lake. Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying in that same vein, like they were searching the bottom of the lake to find his body. So like, I'm assuming there's something there.
I have some answers for this. Everybody relax. We've got they were seeking
why
restitution.
Are you saying relax? We're fine. Like, what are we doing?
Certainly sounds that way. Certainly sounds that way. Officers also seeking restitution for the money that was spent on the search for his body,
Makes
which
sense.
was obviously in Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
They are Sheriff Podol, who has been leading the charge on this. Mark Podol, who is the Green Lake County Sheriff. Yeah, shout out to Mark. He will likely face a number of charges, including obstruction. Oh, you did tell us that.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, shout out Mark.
That's right.
Went to high school with my dad.
How's it going getting him on the program?
You told me not to do that, so I didn't pursue it.
That is true. You did say that.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
I'm surprised I said that.
You were poo-pooing us when we were all about this story.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden
you're back
you're
in.
it. You're
What
a
was
fraud.
that last one you read? What was the second part?
It just says a number of charges, including obstruction.
That's one of those. And I don't know, like, is this guy really going to put up a big fight to avoid jail time or prison time?
Hold on. The question, which I don't know if we've asked on this program, Josh, could you fake your own death? I'm not saying from a moral standpoint. Could you pull it off?
Yeah, I think I could. I think I watch enough murder mysteries. I know how to use a Faraday bag. I know how to get rid of.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's
Josh,
to get
big
rid of
words, man.
I think I could. I think I could do it. I also do good in solitude, so I could just lock myself away in some sort of
little makeshift darkness retreat.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be in dark, but just go where nobody knows you, and then don't make contact to the outside world. No one would be any wiser.
It's true.
The financial end of it is really the only thing that would to eat and all that.
Hunter, you couldn't pull it off, could you?
No, I'm not. I am not nearly smart enough. Like the experts that they have.
I'd be too dumb of a criminal.
Yeah. And like I want to go to like sporting events. I want to go to places where there's a lot of people. Like if I faked my own death, like my face would be everywhere. I'd get recognized right away.
But maybe you blend in with the crowd then a little bit. No, probably not. After Eyebrows got the United Healthcare CEO suspect arrested, you're probably gonna.
I'm going to be very interested to see what ends up happening with this because something tells me.
You're talking about the United one or the Green Lake one?
No, not the United one. The Green Lake man. Something tells me they're going to have a hard time actually pressing and achieving charges on this. Obviously, the restitution will make sense.
Yep.
But the obstruction of justice thing, those ones that are obstruction, disorderly, those are sort of nebulous, and you kind of have to really nail something down. And other than him costing them a lot of money, he did not actually commit a crime.
And I also think, like, if you're at a point in your life where you that desperately don't want to be around other people in your life, are you going to fight too hard if they're like, yeah, we're going to put you in jail? Like, I feel like you're rewarding him by putting him in jail for 5 years.
Also, why did he just come back?
I mean, that's a question I hope we find the answer to.
Things had gone poorly with the Uzbekistani woman.
Yeah, I was going to say the girlfriend found out.
Because, like,
Absolutely.
what?
And all hell broke loose.
Like, what do you...
Now, for the record, we do not for sure know it was Uzbekistan. That is just what it has always been thought to have been. That was not confirmed today by Mark Padul, Hunter's friend.
I think the woman was confirmed as that was where she was from, her nationality.
Gotcha.
And I believe that's where they thought he was. They kept using Eastern Europe to be vague about it, but... Yeah, this is...
I think we should try to get him on the program.
There's
I know
no
he's in jail right
I was
now.
going to say, it might be a little hard.
He might be in jail right now, but I think
He's probably using his one phone
But here's
call
the
for his
thing.
lawyer.
But no. Here's the thing, though, fellas. I feel like we have a decent pitch. I'm stupid, right? Like I would ask him the questions. I would ask him the questions I needed to, but he could fool me. He could tell me that he's a great guy. He's a stand-up individual. I bet he could.
Yeah, the thing is, I think his legal representation would tell him it would be unwise to detail step by step what he did and why he did.
Well, you know what you could do, Joshy? Cross your fingers and hope Hunter's got some connections in the legal counsel. Right? We don't know that yet.
I think that would be like perjury. That'd be like a crime.
What would be if Hunter knew the legal counsel?
If we used Hunter knowing the sheriff to then get to that guy's legal counsel, would we probably be untoward.
No. I'm saying unrelated to the sheriff.
Oh, you just
Hunter
think-
has more connections.
Hunter
no.
happens to know that guy too.
No, the best I've got is sheriff and the fire chief for Berlin. That's the best I got for you.
Wait a minute, Hunter. Any chance you know the judge?
Green Lake County? No, not anymore. Used
How
to.
many judges do you know?
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Well, that's 'cause he
wait,
retired.
that means you know the. Oh wait, can you get a hold of him?
No, he wasn't a big fan.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, can we play? I would love to play court on Mr. Irrelevant. I think Hunter would be best served as the jury.
What do you mean play court? You want a mock trial?
Yeah, mock trial. Yeah.
Who's on trial for what?
Me?
For being a dumbass?
Yeah, right.
Well, guilty. I solved it.
Yeah. Just start playing back old shows. What are we doing?
Yeah, the evidence is monumentous. It's huge.
That does it for us today. Talk to you Friday beginning at 12:30 Central. ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison on YouTube, ESPN Madison on Facebook. Thanks to Josh. Thanks to Hunter. Thanks to you for hanging out with us. We'll talk to you Friday. We'll preview more in depth a little bit. Packers, Seahawks, Sunday Night Football coming up on Sunday. We'll talk to you then. It's been Mr. Relevant, presented by Door County Distillery. Peace.